Hey, everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson. We have got another amazing show for you today. I've got my good friend, Tamar Mar, who has an incredible story on how she started in this wonderful thing called multifamily investing. And it's really unique. She went from corporate America. She said, screw the boss. Did I just give the finger? I think I did.
I think you did.
That's okay. So
it's your show.
It's my show, damn it. But screw the boss, and I'm going to do it my way. And so with that said, welcome to episode number 58. Tamar Mar, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
You know, this is exciting. We were talking before we started this thing about kind of your journey, and it is really neat. And it follows a line, I think, of most successful investors. Like when they get to a point where they're ready to commit to something different. And you've not shared the whole story with me, so I want to get into the trenches with you and just have you share with the audience of who you are and what you've done and this incredible journey that you're on right now.
I would love to. I think stories are so powerful. They have a great way of communicating vision to other people and inspiring others towards greatness. And I think I have this tagline that I like to say about my story, which is I was really keen on becoming the CEO of my own dreams. So I had been the COO for a few different companies, one on Wall Street and one here locally in Seattle for about 5 years. And while I really loved helping other people to grow their businesses, there was a point about 4 years ago where I thought, if I can help other people do this, I can do it on my own. And so I knew I wanted to start my own business. And that's where our investing journey really started taking off, my husband and I, and we started investing in single family houses on auction, sight unseen. But about a year, almost 2 years ago, it was 2 years ago this month, December, I had a conversation with somebody and I just realized that I was really done being the CEO of somebody else's dreams. And I didn't want to move up in the corporate world. I just wanted to do it for myself. And so that was kind of this point. And I had been in the process of transitioning into also investing in different businesses in addition to running businesses.
Right.
And so I made a decision to leave my job and I bought a company with my cousin, a high-end specialty fitness equipment retailer, which we have now transitioned ownership back over to him recently. So I can focus fully on multifamily. But right after that, so in March of 2017, I made a decision that I was going to start a multifamily syndication business because I knew that I was not going to reach my goals fast enough by investing in single family. We had like 4 or 5 doors and we were using our own money. We were using our HELOC to invest in those. So, if you're buying one of those at a time, it takes 6 to 12 months before you can refi out of those and rinse and repeat. And I thought, I'm going to be like 80 before I can retire. That is not going to work for
No bueno.
No bueno. So I think the thing that's really different is I didn't do this as a hobby. I said very specifically, I'm starting a multifamily syndication business. So I got my name for my company. I set up a marketing plan and I really started getting to work and telling everybody on the face of the earth that I knew and that I didn't know and just started networking like crazy. I said, this is my plan. So within 6 months, I'm going to buy my first multifamily asset.
Hold on. I got to stop you there for just a minute because I want to make sure I just stress that point.
Yes.
I mean, that is really cool. So if any people that are listening, take it like you said specifically, I'm going to try,
Nope.
I'm going to figure it out, or I want to, you committed to the process and you said, I am.
Yes.
And then once you do that, it sounds like all of a sudden you started giving yourself these list of things that you needed to accomplish in order to move the ball.
That's exactly what I did. And I believe in telling everybody that you know about what it is that you want to do. And I think there's some
And then you shared. Yeah, you shared.
Yeah, and some people agree with that and some don't because they're maybe scared to share their goals. Like, what if it doesn't happen? I might be embarrassed. What if people poo-poo it because they think,
people are going to poo-poo on it. That's exactly what's going to, and it's always the ones closest to you.
I know, totally. But I didn't care about that. And so, yeah, I just started talking to people. And within 2 months, I actually had my first multifamily property under contract. And then just to give a quick fast forward, and then we'll go back through all the details. Uh, After closing on that one, 4 months later, I closed on another one. And since then, I've closed on 2 more. So I've bought 4 apartment complexes in a period of about 16 months. And I'm on the goal for 2019 to acquire at least 150 doors. So maybe 2 to 3 more complexes, and then keep growing after that. So I'm having a blast with what I'm doing. It's super fun.
Yeah. Now that's an amazing journey. Now, so in people that listen to my podcast, right? So I always talk about buying these bigger deals, right? 100 unit pluses. But the truth is, you do not have to start there, right?
No, you don't.
You're doing what's the average size of your units that you're buying right now?
So to start off, I did a 15 unit and then a 16 unit and then 26 and 56. And it kind of depends on the market because the prices are different, all the markets. So my 56 was only 1.475 million, but my 26 unit was 2.35 million. And so I wanted to ramp up in a organic enough way and a pace which I felt comfortable because I'd made a decision that I'm not building this massive team. I'm doing it on my own. I'm doing it with our own net worth. And so
it's exactly how I teach it.
Totally. And so I
run
wanted
my
to
multi-million dollar right here. Yeah.
Yeah, just take small steps upward, and the more properties you get as you grow bigger, then you have the capacity to do that because of your experience with the type of loans that you're going to get. Working with your whole team, having the balance sheet that can back up what you're going to do, and just having the confidence too. Like I didn't feel like I wanted to jump into 150 unit right at the beginning by myself because I was like, how am I going to raise the money? I want to build up confidence that I can raise 350,000, and then the next one was bigger, and the next one was bigger, and at some point I was able to raise like 1.2 million dollars in it was like overnight. I did it. It was like literally overnight. I raised that much. Yeah, it was a good feeling. So I think that's a great point. Is don't feel like you have to do something big because anything that you do that's success, it's going to build off of those successes and then give you the confidence and skill set to move up to reach bigger goals.
Right. Amen to that. That's well put. I mean, so many people come into this game. Now, what I've found too is right now everybody believes like there's a trend in the marketplace right now where like multifamily and cash flow and apartments is the new sexy.
Yeah.
Right? And I always say now that's good and bad. It's good and bad because there's a lot of what I call stupid money coming to town. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Santa's coming to town, but it's not the Santa that we're thinking of, right?
No.
But and
I can't help but think of the scene in Elf where he's like,
Santa, yes.
Him.
And I always say they're buying properties right now that probably they shouldn't be buying or they don't really know what they're doing. And as interest rates rise and things happen, if they sniff wrong, they're going to be in trouble. And I think there's going to be opportunity for that. So I don't, I like it that there's lots of attention in this space, but also it's because single family is hard.
Single family is hard right now. Yeah.
It's really hard. It wasn't back in like 2009 where you could throw a dart and hit a deal. But now margins are so extremely tight and people are marketing and spending marketing dollars like crazy to find motivated sellers.
Yeah.
And so that's why I love the multifamily. Tell me your experience right now finding deals. How do you do it?
Well, gosh, I mean, I'm back into acquisition mode because I closed on 2 complexes, one at the end of August and one at beginning of October. So I wanted to work on stabilizing those. I'm back into acquisition mode. And as soon as I set, then I just reach out to all of my contacts that know that I can deliver. And so I have a couple of key brokers that I work with. I don't spend advertising dollars. I don't waste my time marketing. I'm a busy mom. I have my own podcast. I homeschool 2 out of 3 of my kids. I love cooking. I like playing a lot. And so I'm going to spend time on what I think is going to be the most bang for my buck and have other people do that. So there's the brokers out there that they spend the advertising dollars. So you know what? Treat them really well. Have a great relationship with them. Take them to lunch. Take them to dinner.
Time out again, dude. You were hitting all my favorite buttons, and we didn't even talk about this.
Yeah.
This is great because I always this is another one. Corey, don't you got to market to find apartment deals, right?
No.
You just said it. It's relation. You just said relationships.
I did. I like people. I do. There's a few people that I don't like very much, but most of all, I really like people and I like talking to them and they like me back. So
and when you find good ones, right? When you find good ones, like that becomes friendships, right? And then like you said, after you finish your deals, you go back to the pool and say, hey guys, I'm ready for some new stuff. Send me some stuff.
Yep. I let them know when I'm looking and when I'm not looking. I tell them what my criteria are. They know that I'm super stringent about underwriting. And it does become friendships. I was just telling my husband that last night. We were sitting at my son's basketball game and I was like, I just love like some of the emails that I throw back and forth with my mortgage broker and my real estate broker. Like they're just like, it's funny stuff sometimes. And, those are considered almost my coworkers because I'm on the road or by myself. And those interactions become stuff that brings you joy. Like I don't want to work with people that are super boring.
And the other part is when you can talk about something other than real estate.
Yeah, totally. Right? Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's the key. Like if we're not talking real estate, then we are friends.
Yes, we are friends. Yeah. Talk about their family. Ask them about their boat. Ask to go out on their boat, for heaven's sake. I don't know.
Go have fun.
Yeah. Have fun together and treat them well. So that's an important part for me. And just the past 3 weeks, I've been working on acquisitions and I've put in.
What does treat them well mean?
Like be nice. Send them thank you cards.
Yes.
I send referrals like crazy. I have a couple people that I'm really loyal to and I send them referrals left and right. And they love that because when they're successful, I'm successful. And when I'm successful, they are. So we just all help each other out and it becomes a little ecosystem.
Man, I got to tell you. So, and I'm going to say like, women are way better at this than men. And I want everybody to see if my men are listening right now, listen to Tamar. Because it's little things, right?
Yeah.
This is like marriage 101. Because we're talking about relationships here. And in relationships, when you care about somebody, you do little things. And I just heard you say it. I do these little things and I do these little things. But that yields so much more than most people would ever imagine.
Yeah. It's not purely transactional. In fact, another conversation I had this week with my husband was like, I've been referred to other brokers, like mortgage brokers, for instance, which again, I believe in using them instead of having relationships with 80 banks myself, because that's just
I use a mortgage broker always.
Totally. And so I thought, if I went with then I feel like it would be so transactional because it's a huge company and would I rather have, like it just, I don't know. So,
and you'd be cheating on your mortgage broker.
I know. I actually said that. I feel like I would be cheating like that.
Dude, it's loyalty, man, in this business, right? Once you get your right team where everybody knows each other, right?
Yes.
It is a loyalty factor. And now I don't know about you, but sometimes I like to have one of like two. I'm not like the old Mormon sect where I want to have sex with everybody. I just want to have sex with a couple people.
Okay.
I just want two partners. I want two mortgage brokers, two, like when they're doing servicing, I like to have just one and another backup, right?
Yeah.
For the reason of you want to be able to like make sure that you have good relationships.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
For sure. Back to the deal finding, I was just going to mention something that has come up in the last couple of weeks here because I've put in quite a bit of effort to secure a couple of properties over the last few weeks, and I lost out on one deal. We thought they were going to say yes because we did, but they had a disagreement between the husband and wife who had owned this property for 20 years, and the husband was like, yeah, we can get this done for this price that was way lower, and the wife, who was way more involved, she was like, no, I really want like 700,000 more or something. And so that was one. I put in all this effort, lost out on it. And then there's a couple other deals I just lost out on. We thought we won this other bid on something. It was a great property, had already been mostly renovated, which was great because I do a lot of value add deals, and sometimes those can be exhausting if you're doing a lot of them at once.
Right.
And so then they were like, the broker came back and said they took a higher offer, and everything pointed to us getting it. And so this morning I was like, oh, I feel kind of tired because I've been putting in so much effort the last 3 weeks on all these deals. That was just 2 of them out of like 4 or 5 that I was working on. And the thing is that people are not willing to put in that effort because you get tired and then you're like, okay, back on the saddle. Let's do it again. What else can I look at today? There's like no downtime for me. I'm like, it's not like I was disappointed at all because I was like, okay, business, move on to the next. Let's go. Let's find the next one. But a lot of people won't put in that effort to like, okay, let's get right back in the seat. Let's keep going. I'm tired. That was disappointing. I didn't get the deal, but I'm not going to blame anybody about it. Like, it's just part of the business. And the people who are successful are going to be the ones that continue to get back up, keep going, even though it feels exhausting and like you might not be getting anywhere. But the deals are harder to find right now. I'm sure everybody's finding, but sellers want way more than the property's worth. And then, like you mentioned, rising interest rates. I'm plugging in a much higher interest rate on my underwriting than I can actually get on a loan because who knows, by the time I close in 60 days, if I don't get that loan locked in, the price right at the beginning, my underwriting might be messed up by the time we close. So
that is words of wisdom there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what we also like, one of the things we do instead of when we do in our tool, we will put a 25-year amortization schedule, even though we always get 30.
Yeah.
And it's just a little tweak, but it's like a nice little tweak that it just kind of gives you a little dry powder, right?
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen, and especially right now with rising interest rates. That's a great point that you make of persevering, right?
Yeah, persevering.
And hearing no, right? Because you hear it a lot, especially right now, right?
Yeah.
You hear no a lot.
But I also tell other people no a lot. Because then there's the stuff that comes across my desk. And I said, no, you want $4 million for that? I'll give you like 3.1. I might give you 2.7, but there's no way. And I'll just tell them flat out that you're a little bit silly right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes I think brokers get together like, hey man, what do you think you want to list for? I don't know. That's not high enough. Let's go higher.
Yeah.
And I call it the smoking crack pipe figure because most of them are on the crack pipe when they put together their performance. I'm like, guys, let's just be sensible because, and then they try to tell you. They try to tell you how it's a deal.
Yeah. Yes. I saw a pro forma come across my desk yesterday with a 4.75 interest rate. Are you getting 4.75 on loans right now?
None of that I got. Not even close.
No.
5.5.
Not even close. Yeah, 5.5. That's what I'm underwriting with 5.5 right now. I mean, I've had quotes back at like 5.2, 5.3, but on a smaller property that I just refied, it's under $1 million loan. It's $850,000 loan for the refi, but I think we're paying 5.7 on that one because it's a local bank and it's it's full recourse.
Yep. So we underwrite at 5.5, and then we try to get the best in the market, but we underwrite to 5.5.
Yeah. Yep. Right? Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that. Talk about your guidelines. So I always feel like most people have a system or a guideline that they really. Can you share any of your things that you really, things are deal breakers or things that you really underwrite to?
Yeah. I think my underwriting is changing a tiny bit in the last couple of months, even just to prepare for some of the shift that we're seeing here. For instance, even just a year and a half ago when I was underwriting, my goal was to have 100% of member capital returned within the first 5 years. So between cash flow distributions and a refinance event. Well, and then an IRR maybe up to like 18%. Well, it's really hard to find a deal where I'm looking with an IRR of 18% right now. So now I'm feeling more comfortable with 13 to 15% on an IRR. And that is, I'm hearing that more and more across the nation. I follow the investing world. Everybody that's listening probably does as well. But even this morning, I was listening to a group that was putting together a deal. Their capital raise was $8.5 million. So it was a really big deal. And they were telling their investors to only expect back about 70% within the first 5 years, which that was the first time that I heard somebody else say that out loud, because usually we are trying to get back money to our investors fast. But the change now is that you might not be able to refinance in 2 or 3 years with the rising interest
It all
rates.
depends because cap rates are going to rise, right?
It
And so
does,
that
yeah.
makes your value lower, and so you may not be able to get everybody out, right?
Yeah. So
And
one of the
so
things I'm doing in my at least in my theorizing of what I want to put together in my marketing packages for my investor partners is I want to provide a couple of different scenarios saying, let's hold it for 10 years and see what happens if we hold it for 10 years. What does the returns look like for that? And what do the returns look like if we can get a refinance earlier? But just saying, these are a couple of different scenarios instead of coming up with one business plan that you say you're going to follow, because no business plan ever plays out exactly how it's supposed to. So
right.
I like having some different options. Like I said, that I'm plugging in higher interest rates. One of the things that I do for rent increases is I always model out year one with existing rents. So I think sometimes people will plug in year one, you can do all of these crazy rent raises, when the reality is, have you been able to raise 100% of rents in 3 months or 6
I
months
think
or 12
it's,
months?
in fact, it goes down before it goes up,
It
right?
totally does.
Because
Yes.
when you're doing rehab and fixing things, you're evicting all the bad pay, non pay, slow pay, crap
Yeah.
tenants, right?
Yeah.
And so occupancy goes down, and then you still
Yes.
have to do work, and then because it's really hard to get
Yeah.
a rent increase,
Yes.
especially
And
on a rehab, on a
especially on a rehab. And it happens. It's just that it doesn't happen for sometimes, I mean,
till
it
year
can take a
two.
year, till year two. So in year two, I will enter in the low average for the area of
Yes.
today's. So I'll look at what today's rents are. I'll find the low average and I'll plug that in for year two. So not what I think, okay, but 3% from now or 5% from now, whatever I think rents are going to go up, plug that in year two. I plug in what I think they would be today in year two. And that just gives me a little bit of extra breathing room to say, okay, I have some time to achieve this. I'm not projecting way higher than I think I'm going to. And it's that whole under promise, over deliver. It's such
Dude,
so
you
cliche.
hit the nail on the head. That is key number one to raising capital, right?
Yeah.
Is under promise.
Under
Because if you
promise.
don't do that, if you try to put pie in the sky like this thing's going to be so great, it's the best thing ever invented, and if it comes up even just a little bit short, that's all they'll know is
Yes.
you came up short.
Yeah. And scenarios, like I said before, they always play out differently. And now that I have experience in that and rehabbing several buildings and seeing how that repositioning has played out, I'll just give an example. So on my first acquisition, it was a 15 unit, so it wasn't huge. It was $825,000. We thought so the rents were about $460 a door, but the market rent was about $700 a door.
Oh wow.
So I thought, okay, we're going to raise the rent to not that amount, but let's just say like 625 or something across
Right.
the board. See what happens. At worst case, 5 people are going to move out. A third, 33% vacant. Well, that happened the first month. And then the second month, 2 more people moved out. And the third month, 3 more people moved out. So we had 10 out of 15 vacant. But I made the decision, well, you know what? This is a great opportunity. I already raised some money to rehab the units. Let's have some vacancy for a while. It means that it's going to be longer before we kick off cash flow distribution because we're pumping everything into these rehabs.
Yep.
Took, let's see, September, October, November, December, January. It took about 6 months to get all of that done and the tenants in there and 100% occupied. So on that, it was a year before we could pay out any cash flow distributions. But the beauty of it is now I'm in the middle of a refinance for that one. And that will be after not even 18 months instead of the 3 years that I projected. So like the cash flow was different. The returns cash on cash are way less than what I projected. But at the same time, I'm getting back 65% of member capital within the first 18 months because of this refinance, which we couldn't have done if we hadn't rehabbed all those units and
Yeah,
increased
that's
that.
beautiful, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. And really, and what you're saying too, there is um, sometimes, and especially in this marketplace, you have to be a little bit flexible,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've also trained your capital to be flexible.
Well, I tell everybody that I wouldn't expect anything in a year. Like in my operating agreements, I have it so that it's a minimum of 6 months before we do any cash flow distributions. But on all the properties that I'm purchasing so far, they are all value add repositioning sort of deals. And so I just say, don't expect anything back for a year. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it just depends on how it plays out. But then we're going to get this thing performing, and I'm the fiduciary of your money. I'm going to take good care of it and make sure we're putting it to work in a great way.
Yeah. Well, and what I found too is capital, as long as you're upfront with them in the very beginning of what your structure is, right?
Yeah.
That is what they expect.
Yeah.
Right? And so and a lot of people, they try to think that they've got to pitch capital a certain, like, oh, I've got to give them this, I got to give them that. And then they end up hamstringing themselves, right? Because they put themselves in a spot because they felt like they had to say all these things to get the money. And where the actual is the truth is where you just got to be honest and say, this is exactly how it works.
Yeah.
And this is my plan, right?
Yeah. I also really love telling people about my mistakes that I've made. Like, I'll just say, listen, I'm in this and I'm learning as I go, and every single deal that you do is entirely different than the other one. It might be that, oh, we're purchasing a building. That's about the same thing that happened between the two things, but there's so many different things that can happen in the middle of it. And I invariably make mistakes on every deal. So I just kind of say like, hey, this is stuff that has kind of gone different than what I thought it would, but this is what I learned from it. And this is how I'm now approaching those sort of situations differently in the future. And it's just going in my toolbox. One way to make me stronger now is knowing that when something like that happens, or just anticipating that a certain scenario can happen and having some plans and backup in case
Well, and when you find these deals too, so like, you kind of, most of the time when you see a deal that you're going to buy, you're like, man, I have an idea of where I can take this, right? And you just said you based that one on, you had market rents of $700. You're like, we do the work. It may take us a little longer to do the work, whatever. And we want to do it, theoretically, you want to try to keep and do it and manage the rehab process so you keep it as occupied as possible. But sometimes it just doesn't happen, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so, like, they all move out. Great. I guess we have a construction zone now, right? Yeah. But the vision is still the same. It's like we were always planning on doing the work. And we know once we get the work done, now it's way more attractive, and it will attract the type of tenant that wants to pay us $700.
Yes.
Right? And that whole process, it takes a little time, but it takes vision, and it takes someone like you to be able to see it. And not a lot of people see that. Yeah.
I think I'm just going to share kind of an interesting scenario that came along the way too and it has to do with our partner expectations and giving returns back to them. So this refi that I'm working on, it is my first refi for multifamily property. So it's a learning process. And since it's full recourse, oh my gosh, it's killing me slowly. It's such a painful refi. It's like horrible. But the bank came back and they said, oh, these are all of these post-closing conditions. And for those of you who haven't gone through a refi or a big financing, that happens. Sometimes the banks will say, we'll give you this loan, but within 30, 60, 90 days, you have to get these things done. And we're going to come back and make sure that you get them done. So we had, there's some concrete popping up on the steps, but, some uneven concrete, and there's something with a couple of the decks and, maybe a hole in a
grinded, wall. Yes.
Yeah, they want that stuff fixed. So I'm like, oh man, that eats into the funds that I am going to give back to my investors once we get that from the bank. But then I say, okay, well, opportunity, because otherwise we wouldn't have had the opportunity to fix it up and be nicer for our tenants. And I don't know, I haven't gotten quotes for those things yet. This just came through in the last day, but
it's always the last day, right? Right before they want to give you the money. Oh, but here's some things.
But I think a lesson from that is I do monthly investor updates until a property is stabilized. And then sometimes I just go to quarterly if it's like super stabilized and,
right.
We don't need to worry. There's nothing going on. But just communicate that sort of stuff. So I'm just getting ready to send out something to my investors that says, hey, we're almost done with this refi. This is giving us an opportunity to fix up the property even more. So just tell them what's going on and give them more information than less information, so they don't feel like they don't know what's going on, because that's the worst that can happen, and then they're not going to come back and do another deal with you.
No. Yeah, you got to communicate always. Now, who manages your properties?
Property managers. Yeah, not me. No, I have, I feel that to be probably the biggest thorn in my side is finding a good property management company. I just had coffee with a property manager friend yesterday he has like 800 single family houses that they manage. And he's like, I know, it's like picking the best of the worst, because it's so hard to find somebody that cares about your property as much as you do.
Yeah.
So I've had to switch property managers. That's another word for firing.
Oh yeah.
I've had to do that, and it can be for various reasons. But ultimately, if they're taking too much time on something, or not doing processes properly that's going to protect you, or spending too much of your money, screening correctly, so much stuff. So something that I feel like I can improve on in working with them is being much more regimented and having a schedule every month every week of, I need to look at all of these reports regularly to see what's going on. And when you're working with property managers, some of them are more transparent than others as well. I don't know if you found that as well, Corey.
Yeah.
But it's like you'll log on to an online portal for one of them and they're super robust and you can pull any report under the sun. And then you'll go to another property manager that uses
one's using Yardi, one's using Rent Manager, one's using like some crap that you can't get onto anything, right?
I know. And all you can get is your monthly reports, and you can't get a real-time rent roll, so you have to ask people for that.
And you're always wondering, like, where am I at? Do you know, what about your rehabs? Are you letting them do your rehabs, or do you have another separate?
I've done it both ways. And I've had it be done where they've used in-house people to manage a rehab. I've had it done where they use external contractors to manage it. And then I've also had it be where they started out helping, and then I decided I was going to find my own contractors because things were not going the way that I wanted to. Yeah. So it depends on, I think, the market, because I invest in several different markets. So it depends on your contracts, how well connected you are in the area, and how confident you feel with the connections that you have versus the ones that they have, and how well established your property manager is.
Yes. Well, because management is the make or break part.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you find a good deal. That's a lot of it. But then the fruition of it meeting where the rubber meets the road is to have the manager that can screen the applicants and put them in and fill them and keep it filled up and keep the cash flow coming in, right?
Yep.
And once you find that, that's a tricky relationship, because especially with what you're doing smaller apartments where you don't really have the ability to have staff on site.
Yeah.
So you're truly relying on a management company that has external staff that can help, and then they're going to go show your units, right? A little more complicated, but at the same time, with the right management company, they can handle it. And how much do you usually pay that an average, like percentage wise, to manage those types of properties?
For the size that I'm doing right now, it's usually 6.5%.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. That's and I've really had good. To I negotiate down, because they always start much higher than that. So
usually they start at 8 or like 10 to
or
9,
10.
8, yeah, 9, 8, 10, yeah.
I'm not paying you 10%. I'm sorry. Like, no. So it's everything's negotiable, and it's just how much are you willing to push on that stuff versus feeling like, oh, okay, well, they said no. Well, when they say no to me, I say, why? What, like, how can we be creative with this? Like, let's find a contract that works out for both of us. So I do try to negotiate as much as possible.
Well, and you should fight for every dollar that you want to make, right?
Yeah.
Because if you can make it, that's more profit. I mean, we're in it for profit. And some management companies are really good at feeing you to death.
Yeah.
There's a fee here, a fee there.
I know.
And so you've got to, I always say this, and it took me a long time to figure this one out, but when I started asking better questions to interview managers is when I got better results.
What are some of your favorite questions?
Tell me about a time, right? I always say, tell me about a time. Like,
Uh-huh.
tell me about a time that you had a fair housing complaint and it didn't go well.
Oh,
Tell me about a time when you had a pool inspection fail. Tell me about a time when you had, I mean, I tell them, like, because if they're experienced managers, they
yeah.
will have these stories.
Yeah.
And I want to know the details. Tell me about a time. Not
Yeah.
if you did, but tell me about the time you had this. And
Yeah.
if they're and so then it lets them show you that they've handled it before, that they have a process. If they don't have a process for it, then I'm going to be like, ooh, so you won't have a process for mine either. And when it happens, right?
Yeah.
And so we have a whole list. Like that's part of our training is we teach that is like when you start asking better questions, you'll get a better manager, right? Just because
Yeah.
you're also setting them up to let them know that you're not an idiot owner,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like, kind of been around the block a little bit.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
expect
Can't
I have
trample
I have
all
high
over
expectations. Yes,
Right.
and let's do it together. Like let's make money together. But like, I'm not the idiot. I'm not the stupid money. Ho ho, Santa's not coming to Christmas here. We're here to make money.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Do you publish those questions somewhere, Corey? I want to see those questions.
I'll send it. I'll just send them to you.
Okay, good. I have
But
a list of questions that I ask, and I always like seeing what other people do because it goes back to the story of how has that helped you to be successful in
for
choosing.
me, I mean, that was been always my biggest thing is that like I always just like you. I'm not. I mean, I barely made it out of high school. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Okay,
Mhm.
I know this about myself. But what I really am good at is trying to find great people, right?
Yeah.
And I've had like, but the truth is I've made a lot of mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So as I keep making more mistakes, I've learned that like, oh, I got to ask better questions because this crap ain't cutting it. I'm a
Yep.
little frustrated with myself on getting bad at, results. But once I figured that piece out, I'm like, oh, well, this is really delightful. And I started getting way better procedures and processes because in that management space, all you're really buying is their procedures and their processes, right?
Yeah.
And how well they translate it to actual where it works, like you're getting the rents,
Right.
right? And so that's what you're trying to break it and test it before you buy it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Taken out for a little test drive.
All right, so that was me giving a little cha-ching, but listen, you've provided more value than I could ever thought of because we didn't have this whole blown out discussion of how we were going to do our podcast today.
No, we
And
weren't.
it's turning out to be pretty dang awesome.
You ask good questions.
Well, you've got great stories. So, I mean, and I skipped because I wanted to go back from your journey of how what really made you transition from single family. You kind of said it a little bit, but
Yeah.
from single family to multi, like what was the thing that changed that really said, I'm going to go here versus doing what I was doing?
It goes back to not being able to reach my goals fast enough. And I am a very ambitious goal setter. And I'm really big on lifestyle design. So I think about how I really want to be spending the most abundant life possible. And it's not working my ass off like for 20 hours a day until I'm 85 years old. It's let's get this passive income going. We just set the last day of my husband's job. It'll be 3 weeks before his 50th birthday, July 31st, 2020. And
That
so
is awesome.
yeah, so he works at Expedia. He's worked there for about 8 years. And I told him this year, I want to give you that gift for your 50th birthday. So that gives me something to really work towards. And then at that point, we can do what we want. And I'm doing what I want every day. I love what I'm doing, but I knew that with single family houses, it was just going to take way too long. And this was a way to scale it up. And I will say that syndication is not a walk in the park. It's really not. It's like, it takes a lot of stinking effort. And I don't think it's something that I'm going to be doing in 20 years from now, but I think for the next 3 to 5 years, I want to work really hard, get some great deals under my belt, partner with some amazing people, And then when those are ready to be sold off, those assets are ready to be sold off, sell those off. And then I can do more, either buy apartments
Just
on my
use
own,
your own money.
100% on
Right.
my own.
Yeah. Use
Yeah.
your own money.
Or do like, maybe it's hard money lending I want to do. Maybe it's something else that's more passive than this, because this is a very active
So
business.
Tamar, I'm going to challenge you for just a minute.
What?
Can I challenge you?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I believe everything you're saying so far, and it's been amazing. But
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you right now.
Okay. I love being challenged.
So just do bigger deals, right? I'm telling
I
you
know
right
I'm
now.
going to.
Yes. You want just do 100 unit deals. It actually I think it gets easier. So once you go up to 100 units plus, it's all non-recourse, right? I've not signed personally guaranteed a loan ever, right?
Yeah.
And then you have staff on site, right?
Yep.
That actually, and dude, it gets easier. So you've been playing and you've done an amazing job. Like, I'm not taking anything away, because I think most people don't even start there when they should, right? But you've got enough success. I mean, I'm like, you're there, you're seasoned.
Yeah. Yep.
Go swing a little bigger.
I did, even this last week, one of the deals that I lost out on, it was a 93 unit, and my biggest is a 56. And so I now feel comfortable to do that. The only thing is, I just don't want, and this is where I go back and forth with myself a little bit, I don't want to have too big of a team, like an internal team that works with me directly, to where I feel like, so, you know what I'm saying? Like on the GP.
Tamar, I have 2 people that work for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I own $95 million worth of real estate. I promise.
Yeah.
So you can't, because the truth is, I have Sarah right here in the back, she's not there now. But, I have a virtual assistant that just helps do some other little things.
Yeah.
But really and then everything else is outsourced, right?
Yeah.
So just like you, I've built my same system like you. I wanted lifestyle, because I wanted to be the big kahuna.
Yeah.
Right?
I want the big kahuna.
I want sunsets.
So on your shirt.
I wanted sunsets and palm trees from the very beginning.
Yeah.
A lifestyle is what we're talking about. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And dude, to retire your husband.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. So let's hear, I'm going to show this for people that's watching YouTube. This right here, right? So this little thing. This is called me and my wife's love journal. This is really neat. So in it, so instead of writing notes, we write love, there's a little note there from my wife. I got this today, so that's why I'm sharing it. But all these other pages are all the notes and love notes that we've written to each other, right? It's a really neat thing. And so in this thing, for about 5 years, usually around this time of year, honey, this is the year that I'm going to retire you. This is the year. This is the year. And it went on for 5 years in a row until finally there's an entry in here that says, honey, today is the day.
Today's the day.
Right? You are
awesome
set
feeling.
Free.
Oh my God.
I'm going to tell you that it will change. My wife's been in corporate America all her life, right? So that's when I point over there, that's my wife's chair.
Yeah.
It's always empty, but she still has one.
But she has one, just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case.
But what a great feeling to bring her home so she could be a full-time mom, right? And, and because it's that's what we do this business for.
Yeah.
And so for you to make that goal and to set it and just say it boldly and proudly and this is what I'm going to do.
Yep. And I already know it's done. I think we could do it before then.
Oh, it'll probably happen before.
Yeah, it'll probably happen before. And then we're going to go to South Africa. Seriously, that's our trip. We're going to go to South Africa, take the whole family down there. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a big celebration.
Well, I think you're a testament to exactly what multifamily can do to someone that is in the right spot. You changed your mindset. You said, you thoroughly just said, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to take the reins myself, and I'm the captain of my ship, right?
Yeah.
And I can see it by the smile on your face that it's, and it's not been easy, right? It's not been an easy journey, but it's been probably the most fulfilling journey you've ever been on. Am I right?
Last year was the best year of my life. I feel like life is always getting better, but that year where I took that leap and it was kind of scary, it was so rewarding. And it just keeps getting more rewarding because I see the fruits of my labor paying off. And that just feels good, doesn't it?
Man, it does. Like I think about just it's the journey. So the journey is the reward,
Yeah.
right? It's not always the easiest. Sometimes it's most not. It's usually the most of the time it's not very glamorous. Most people don't understand. It's a very lonely job. Don't you think? Sometimes, for me, it's lonely. I sit in my office
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of times, and it can be lonely because I'm not out there and like chipping around with all other people.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right? I
Yeah.
try to stay busy, but when I'm doing actual work, a lot of times it's lonely. Unless but I'm on the phone all the time. So,
Yeah.
but but it's a lonely business in a way. But gosh dang, it's so. But when you get to the other side of like, well, what are we gonna do this week, or let's go on some vacations,
Yeah.
you get to say yes a lot more.
You can say yes a lot more.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then also no. My other favorite word's no. You said
You
it
like
earlier.
saying no. I
Oh
know.
gosh,
Yeah. It's
that's the
good.
best
I
feeling in the
turned
world.
down I turned down a really big opportunity this year that would have made me a fair amount of cash. And I was like, I said yes at first, and then I went back and I changed my mind and I said no. And I respected myself so much for that, and I immediately felt so much better because it's so easy to say yes to things, but when you say no, it frees up your time and space, and it just brings you a little bit more clarity about what's really important to you and what do you want to focus on. And saying no it takes a lot of discipline to do that.
Amen. Well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
So, couple little takeaways here. Number one, what's your best advice on raising private money?
Talk to people all the time and just get out there. Go to investing clubs, be on forums, add value to other people. Just talk to people. That's the best way I can say it.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about and finding deals? Best advice.
Finding deals, best advice, find a couple of brokers that you develop great relationships with. Successful brokers.
Difference, right?
There's a difference there. Yeah. Successful brokers who have a track record, get them to believe in you and your vision and believe in theirs.
Well said. Tamar, I want to thank you so much for coming on to my podcast. If people want to find you and get and who you are, where do they go? How do we send them to you?
Yeah, they can hear about my rantings, not rantings, but my voice at my podcast. It's investingforlifepodcast.com. It's about the entrepreneurship of investing, entrepreneurship, and intentional lifestyle design. And my company website is Marota Group, MAROTA Group.com.
Oh man, listen, thank you so much for spending almost an hour on our podcast, and it went by fast.
It went by fast.
Oh my gosh. I've really enjoyed it. Like, and listen, I'm gonna send you my little the lessons to educate brokers on or educate management companies on, or all the questions.
Okay.
And then if you ever want to do big deals, like let's partner on something. Like I'm always trying to find great people just like you because I think you're the type of people that I enjoy working with. So go getters, right?
Okay. Let's keep that conversation going.
We will. All right. Well, thanks for your time. Guys, listen, no matter where you're at in life, if you will start focusing just like Tamar did, she made a commitment. She said, today I'm going to achieve something better than I ever thought I could even do myself. Like she just went out there with passion and vigor, and she did the work, and she ultimately is becoming successful. And each and every day, she's expanded her goals. Like that is what happens in life. And I believe if you put your mind to it, if you believe it, you can achieve it, and your paradise is possible.
Amen to that.